Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we are going to dive right into an incredible story about how a harsh, freezing winter in Japan's Shinshu region transformed a simple little seed into a 300-year-old cultural legend. We're talking about Nozawana. It's a leafy green that is practically synonymous with winter comfort food. But how did it get that way? Well, it was a perfect storm of geography, human necessity, and quite a bit of time.
Harvest after the frost. This old ancestral farming wisdom really sets the atmospheric tone for our story today. Our journey is deeply rooted in the heavy, snowy winters of Nagano Prefecture, which was historically known as Shinshu. In this region, winter didn't just mean putting on an extra sweater. Historically, it meant deep snows that could completely cut villages off from the outside world for months at a time. Survival meant getting incredibly creative with preserving the autumn harvest just so families wouldn't starve before the spring thaw finally arrived.
All right, part one, winter survival in Shinshu. To truly wrap our heads around this leafy green, picture Nozawa Onsen Village. It's a place defined by those isolating snows and steaming 90-degree hot springs known as Ogama. Over 250 years ago, right in the middle of the Edo period, the inciting incident of our story happened. A local monk from the Tennoji Temple returned from a trip to Kyoto bearing a gift. He brought back seeds of the prized round Tennoji turnip, which was normally grown in the mild, gentle climate of the south. Moving on to part two, the turnip that changed. So, when the monk planted that foreign seed in the freezing snowmelts and volcanic soil of Shinshu, it underwent a totally astonishing environmental adaptation. The contrast is just dramatic. Fighting these intense day and night temperature swings, the plant basically just gave up on growing a plump root entirely. Instead, it shot all of its energy upward, growing these massive, crisp leaves nearly a meter long. It literally became an entirely new vegetable, taking the name of the village itself, Nozawana.
Which brings us to part three, the science of pickling.
Now, because these massive crisp leaves were harvested right around the first frost, they obviously wouldn't naturally last through the long winter. To keep from starving, the villagers turned to the science of preservation. First, they wash the harvest, and actually, they sometimes use that hot spring water just to fight off the freezing cold. Next, they layer the leaves in these massive barrels, carefully sprinkling salt between each and every layer. Finally, they press it all down by literally crushing it under natural mountain stones weighing up to 50 kilograms. Here is the absolute coolest part of the process. Beneath those 50-kilogram stones, an invisible microscopic world takes over. Those incredibly heavy stones crush the water out of the leaves, creating a brine that pushes out all the oxygen. And in this oxygen-starved, salty pool, lactic acid fermentation kicks into high gear. Natural bacteria living on the leaves begin to break down the plant's sugars the plant purposefully generated to survive the frost, by the way. This creates a deliciously acidic ecosystem that kills off the bad bacteria and safely preserves the food all winter long. And it's fascinating how the passage of time physically transforms the pickle. In the first few days, it's bright green, sweet, and really crisp. But as a month passes, it turns this yellow-green color with a much deeper acidity and aroma. By winter's end, it matures into a deep amber masterpiece with a super complex flavor profile. It's honestly a lot like aging a fine cheese or a good wine.
Part four, unique local family traditions.
Over the centuries, making Nozawana evolved from just a basic survival tactic into a rich communal event that anchored a family's identity. There is absolutely no single correct recipe here. Instead, neighboring houses craft their own unique family flavors, which they call wagaya no aji, or the taste of our home. Families sneak in their own secret ingredients alongside the salt. We're talking savory kelp, a kick of chili pepper, sweet apple, or even bright citrusy yuzu. You could literally taste your neighbor's Nozawana and know exactly whose house it came from.
But beyond just tasting absolutely delicious alongside a bowl of hot rice and some steamy miso soup, these family recipes were quite literally lifesavers. Nozawana is a total nutritional powerhouse. It's packed with dietary fiber, vital vitamins, and minerals. You have to remember, before modern supermarkets or refrigeration, this preserved green provided the exact nutrients needed to keep entire generations of villagers healthy when fresh food was completely buried under meters of snow.
And that leads us to part five, from village to global. Eventually, the secret of this beloved local staple just couldn't be contained. As roads improved into the modern era, Nozawana expanded far beyond the snowy borders of Nozawa Onsen Village. And as the seeds traveled throughout the wider Nagano Prefecture, something pretty amazing happened.
Moving through the north, center, east, and south regions of Nagano, the distinct volcanic soils and varying altitudes coaxed out slightly different textures and flavors from the plant. It developed a true, distinct regional terroir. Fast forward to the mid to late 20th century, and we enter the era of commercialization. With the advent of modern transportation, advanced hygiene protocols, and the game changer of vacuum packaging, Nozawana transitioned from a localized family chore into a famous regional brand. Huge factories were able to standardize the quality, turning it into a massive commercial export. It became the ultimate culinary souvenir of Shinshu that tourists could describe at the train station to take home.
But the evolution definitely didn't stop at the souvenir shop. Today, its perfect crunch and complex acidity have inspired a whole new generation of chefs. Sure, it's still fantastic, wrapped inside a traditional onigiri rice ball or stuffed into an oyaki dumpling. But now, you will find it chopped up and baked into pizzas, folded into rich cream pastas, tossed into fried rice, and, get this, incredibly, used to give a brilliant tangy crunch to burger tartar sauce. It is just an incredibly versatile ingredient.
And now, Nozawana is officially stepping onto the world stage. Driven by this massive modern global obsession with gut-healthy, plant-based fermented foods, this humble winter survival ration is breaking international borders. International chefs are increasingly looking toward Japanese fermentation techniques, and not just your standard miso and soy sauce, but these lactic acid pickles, to bring complex, healthy, and sustainable flavors to fine dining across the globe.
So, what does all of this mean? It brings us to a really fascinating question. What will this 300-year-old seed become next? From a monk's legendary journey from Kyoto, to an extreme environmental adaptation, to a winter survival lifeline, and now an ever-evolving worldwide culinary sensation, we are left to wonder just how this incredibly adaptable plant will continue to transform in the future. Next time you see a fermented pickle on a menu, remember the snows of Shinshu, those 50-kilo stones, and the brilliant human ingenuity that makes it all possible. Thanks so much for learning with us today on The Explainer. Stay curious, and we'll see you next time.